Well, it's official. The NFL season is over. We are not all that far away from the NFL Combine, free agency, the new league year, the NFL draft. Those things are all around the corner sooner than you'd expect. But right now, we are about as far away from a meaningful game of NFL football as we're ever going to be. The good news is we did survive the first month without the Chiefs. We got our tolerance up a little bit. But I don't have a funny way to end the cold open. I just kind of thought we'd take a moment and reflect on one of the weirder football seasons of the last decade that I think we sent it off well, but I'm not completely ready to say goodbye. I don't have a joke or anything. If one of you guys has one, this would be an awesome time.
Josh, the football season is a lot like the Old Testament.
Yeah? How so? In excruciating detail. As much time as you need.
I see you've called my bluff, sir.
Let's do the show!
I have no idea what today's about to bring. I wonder if any Super Bowl champion has ever benched their left tackle in 2 different games in the same season.
Everywhere.
Lights come on. I need to see it, Omar.
Someone is getting snapped.
Show it.
Jazz and I have been married for 17 years. So, Nate, what did you think about...
How about that? The Seattle Seahawks, led by quarterback Sam Darnold, are your Super Bowl champions, and we're all 32 teams are now into offseason mode, although I guess the Seahawks probably get to enjoy a few more days of celebration if they'd like. Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor, and Nate Taylor, all with you here for this post-Super Bowl edition of Only Weird Games. We'll get into some of the stuff that we learned and that we think the Chiefs should have learned from the game. I actually think there's quite a bit, as Seth has already proven once and will prove over the course of the show today. But fellas, how did you enjoy your Super Bowl 60 viewing experience?
Well, Josh, I had the rare chance in the modern era to watch the Super Bowl with my children and my father in my own house. That was cool. The commercials were less appealing than I remember. Because
what can AI do for you? Everything.
They had my girl Serena Williams out here pushing what? You're Serena Williams.
You can tell when a business has hit that point that the angel investors are starting to be like, so we've been pouring a lot of money into you for a couple of years. Where's that return coming? And that there's like the Super Bowl commercials like, please start spending money on this because man, we built up a lot of data farms.
Like I'd like to talk about that more, but Nate said it extremely well, which is you're Serena Williams. You know the craziest thing? That company used to pay us to talk about erectile dysfunction.
It's been a look, it really did encapsulate or put a punctuation mark on just like you said, Josh, how weird the season has been. And then also like realizing in the second quarter, man, can we just get this clock moving, guys? Let's just get to Bad Bunny. Let's just restart this whole thing. Let's get some vibes right. Again, I thought the cinematography was incredible. The performances, the execution, the choreography. I'm not the first person to say this, but like kind of the highlight of like the first half was Bad Bunny. Sam Darnold tried to throw the ball to the Patriots a couple times. They didn't catch it. Therefore, he managed the game well. Therefore, the better team did end up winning. So we do have that to say. I thought it was fascinating. And there's a great shot. I'm sure it's been posted on the internet multiple times where Mike Macdonald's got the card and he's telling the homies, you going to be blitzing from here. You going to be blitzing from there. And they're just locked in. And Mike Macdonald is the first ever in 60 Super Bowls, the first ever Super Bowl winning coach to call defensive plays during the game. This has always been, I know it's always sort of been an offensive league and defenses have their moments. They bubble up from time to time, but boy, did he have Josh McDaniels in a chokehold for much of that game. And, I know we're going to talk about it much like the Lab did yesterday. I listened to their show this morning and I thought it was pretty on the nose about like how this all relates back to the Chiefs But yeah, a cool Sunday, a very anticlimactic game. And it was like, okay, well, at least someone came out here and was ready to perform. It just happened to be for 13 minutes, and the guy was kind of holding the football. And again, not the first person to say this, moving the football matriculating the ball more than the Drake May-led Patriots.
You know what, Nate? I agree with almost everything you said there, with one major exception. I've had about enough of this fantasy football, soft media nonsense that I gotta have 2 quarterbacks and 6 wide receivers out there having the game of their dang lives. There was excellent football being performed. There were excellent performances first half, second half, and halftime because...
yeah,
It was a playoff for defense and special teams. It was a Super Bowl for defense and special teams. One of them that's not in our rundown that Seth didn't write about, that we haven't, I barely even mentioned this on everything else yesterday, talking about, I really enjoyed the Super Bowl. Now, I will go ahead and self-report to a point that Seth made very clearly just a few moments ago. Right as the game was starting, someone in our basement, maybe me, declared... 1 drink for sports betting, 2 drinks for AI, 3 drinks if anybody cries. And the AI commercials came out hot and heavy in that first quarter. I mean, it was there were like 4 or 5 in that first quarter. So maybe that made me enjoy the first half more. But I had an excellent time, genuinely. We had some friends over across the spectrum of caring about football, not caring about football, and it was obviously the least stressful playoff run I've had in about a decade, which... I would still rather have a stressful Super Bowl with the Chiefs in it than a non-stressful one without them. But I felt like I really enjoyed what was available in that game. And we really did see some great defense, and specifically on special teams. Special teams ace plays, like just when a guy just absolutely does his job to a T, it gets the people going. It is an electric moment. I got to tell a couple of our friends, what you don't realize is the guy who made that play, who just sprinted down the field and tapped the ball away from the end zone, he's like the 52nd dude on the roster. He's making the least money, and that's his job, and he just did it perfectly in the Super Bowl. That's electric, and the Chiefs had the worst year of special teams that I can remember in their modern era this season, and I don't think that's why they went 6-11, but it was a surprising thing to be confronted with on Sunday.
Do you think Dave Toub was smiling, or do you think he was crying because look at what they've done to my game? Look at other teams have learned. Impactful plays in the special teams department was really cool, especially, Michael Dixon. We can't give you the most valuable player award, but dog, you were so good.
Nice game, sir. That's the award that you get.
Yes. Yeah, nice handshake. The other thing, too, is how quickly does Dave Toub, I don't know if Dave Toub has, a true
not very.
A true quality control assistant. Get me every cut up. cut up every play from that game from special teams. Because, boys, that's all teaching tape for the entire offseason. You know what? No one held. And no one, there was one push in the back, which was clear as day. But, hey, execute it. Wait for the fake. Watch the fake. Adjust to the fake. All right. And that's just Dave Toub teach tape. Can't wait to ask him in 14 days about it. Guys, we are less than 2 weeks away from me being in the most wonderful place on earth.
Indianapolis
in February. We are so close, guys, from the offseason really starting. And if I see Dave Toub, what do you think of that Seahawks tape? I bet you just been grinding it, right? It's got to be in your eyelids, right? Right,
Seth?
Right.
I have said a couple snarky things already, and so I'm going to pause at that. It was a great Super Bowl.
It was. It was a fun Super Bowl, even though it wasn't a compelling Super Bowl.
Yes. a couple things that you just get a chance to really see. You get to see how important coaching has become in the NFL, and it's always been incredibly important. But Kubiak's ability to solve some of the things Vrabel was doing versus the Patriots' inability to solve what Macdonald was doing, he's got a great future. Like, it'll be interesting to see.
The Patriots had the coach of the year and assistant coach of the year on their side.
Yeah.
Both got
cooked. It actually, though, in some ways, just should remind us that the Chiefs beat that guy who only had to worry about defense with arguably, the Seahawks have a pretty good defensive roster too. Although the Ravens arguably had a better defensive roster in 2023.
I think Seattle has the better pass rush, but it is very comparable second and third levels between what you saw this postseason and what Baltimore had in that particular time.
Plus,
with Kyle Hamilton playing out of his mind.
Yeah, you had an alien. And so I saw a bunch of people, and it's always tempting. We always take new information and make it about the thing that's important to us, right? That's what we do with everything. I did see some takes flying around that like Macdonald being this good a defensive coach this early and showing how great he is only adds to how impressive what it is the Chiefs did in 23, going back to back and going on the run that they went. Because they really did have to beat, like, when you see like what the Seahawks had to do to win the Super Bowl, hats off to them. You are the Super Bowl champs forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. That is not the same as going through Josh Allen, then going through Lamar. Well, first going through, Miami in -5 degrees, and then Josh Allen, and then Lamar Jackson, and like one of the best DVOA teams of all time, and then one of the best DVOA teams of all time in the Niners that was perfectly healthy. That was an all-time run. So that made it even more impressive, but it really underscored to me the modern NFL defense. We can say 2025 is the year we can finally just say it with our chest. Defenses have caught up to and are currently winning against offenses. The scheme wars have shifted towards defense. Offenses don't currently have great answers to well-executed match, man, and zone mixes that are disguised well with pass rush plans that include stunts, but are also strong against the run. Like, defenses right now, they're doing it. Like, they are, like, remember in, like,
there's one guy. There's one guy who was able to put Mike Macdonald in hell at times. One guy.
As long as Sean McVay has Matt Stafford playing out of his mind and Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams and a good offensive line, he's just crushing it.
And Kyron Williams. Don't forget Kyron Williams.
Yeah.
And a bunch of tight ends, which again leads you to like understand where the trends are going. But yeah, McVay is the one guy that said, oh wait. And again, this is the Chiefs' second most important thing, in my opinion. Find Puka Nacua. Whoever he is, wherever he's at, go find him. Well, and that guy's good.
And that was the second part of what I was going to say, is that defenses are winning the scheme wars. Because it's not just Macdonald that's cooking everyone. Like
Jeffy Mentor, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You've had, and not even the young up and comers. Their defenses overall that are actually branching out into a mix of match to go along with man and zone, which basically everyone is now. Which, like, shout out to you, Nick Saban. Like, how did you? And I'm assuming he stole it from somewhere. I'm not a good college football historian. I'm sure someone would say, but like, can you imagine changing the game that much? Like, that's wild stuff. But the way teams are currently doing things, they are beating progression offenses in a way that they weren't. Sometime go back and watch, and the season obviously ended with that catastrophic loss to the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. Go back and watch the Chiefs 2020 offense. It was a buzzsaw, dude. Like, it was like, I forgot. Like, I went back and was watching. There's 58 minutes of Patrick Mahomes highlights. He has a lot of highlights, by the way. And they 2020, offenses were just cooking defenses all over the league. And the Chiefs were routinely putting up 30. I mean, just unbelievably good. It's kind of surprising they didn't repeat all the injuries, blah, blah, blah. things have changed. And it's not just for the Chiefs. Like, if you look at, like, the differing levels of success, like, Joe Burrow still had plenty of success on offense, and I'm going to return to this point in a second. But, like, a lot of the mutant quarterbacks, we went through, like, a 4-year period there where it's like, if you have a mutant quarterback, you're going to put up between 27 and 32 a game. And that's because we've just figured this out. Defenses can't hit the way they used to. They can't whatever. Now some defenses have really figured out how to take away shot play and suffocate some of the quick game stuff, like some of Andy Reid's type stuff and other stuff like that West Coast stuff that was designed to take advantage of those shell coverages that Fangio favored. Now they've kind of figured out how to do a little bit of both. And that's where in the intermediate game, Andy, the intermediate game is the next evolution of offenses because they figured out how to cap and they figured out how to suffocate those quick throws. I want to hear you cook on this, Nate, but I want to say the second thing though, and I know we're gonna do more about other stuff besides defense. It is more than ever about having players.
Yes.
When you're on the offensive side of the ball, you need combo breakers. You need a dude who can, when a run gets blown up to the left side of the line, you need a guy who can turn that into a 30-yard gain around the edge once a game or twice a game. You need that. You need a receiver who it's like, look, we think they're going to play some variant of man or match. The calls for a dig, I just need you to get open. Like, that dude's covering you. I need you to get open. Our QB is going to look at his first read. That's probably going to be covered, and then he's coming back to you. The idea that dudes over scheme is starting to come back is a really big deal as well in terms of very specific matchup winning stuff. But the basic defenses are winning. And I don't know what the answer is. And someone pointed out that Kyle Shanahan, when people were asking, like, oh, what are your answers? He's like, we haven't scored a touchdown against this guy's defense in 2 tries. And he just keeps coming back to, well, you just got to run the ball well. Like, KOC's offense took a step back. Mm-hmm. Like, and really McVay's had until, that's why they added Devontae Adams.
So everything you said leads us to realize that one of the reasons why the Seahawks won the Super Bowl this year is not because of Sam Darnold. And it's not really even because of Jackson Smith-Njigba, even though, to your point, Seth, you need that guy to give yourself some stability in the passing game.
Yeah.
What we realized is, and it's so funny going from, like, I think the revolution really started in 2017, where it was like, how the hell is Nick Foles doing this? And it's like, well, guys, the Patriots have never seen an RPO. Never. They're playing like they've never seen RPO, where the quarterback has the ability to make quick decisions quicker than you, right? Or you're always feeling like you're behind. And of course, Mahomes and, the spreading them out, like, it expanded the game so well as to why you said in 2020, well, we could do quick game, but we could still do deep shots. We could still find a way to, like, manipulate second and third level defenders because of my quarterback's mobility. Sam Darnold's athletic, but he can't move, right? We saw this last year. Jalen Hurts, he's mobile, but he's not explosive. He's not obviously one of the freaks at the position. All of a sudden, not only is it dudes and obviously trenches related, but you got to have tight ends. The tight end position, I think, is becoming even more fascinating because what we saw Seattle do is, okay, if we can't get Jackson Smith-Njigba open, or when he's wide open and our quarterback just flat out misses him in the biggest game of the season, we can always revert back to running game and having that match the tight end play. And that's why they actually scored a touchdown, which is like, oh, yeah, we're setting up the run to create play action to lead to the tight end having an ability to get open. So the Seahawks won the Super Bowl in a lot of ways because they have multiple effective tight ends, which can help you in that second and third levels when you see some of these freak athletes who are either, a top level slot corner, or you have linebackers who are effective enough to be good in coverage, but also still be great at filling certain gaps in the run game. The tight end gives you a duality that is probably going to be necessary, which is weirdly remindful of, like, again, 1990 football.
The pendulum swings over and over and over. And we are right now in a time where the pendulum is swinging back towards being able to run the ball. It's never, ever, 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 barring something crazy happening, going to be your foundation ever again. Although the Bills tested that out. But it's easier when it's like, oh, we've also got a metahuman that, like, on the off chance, he can just do whatever. It's always going to be more important passing the ball unless they return to the era of guys being allowed to decapitate guys or, you like linebacker average weight becomes like 210 pounds. You know what I mean? Like, and we're trending that way up until like this year. But the run game is more important than it's ever been. And it's in part because defenses have caught up. They've won the scheme wars. And that was the biggest thing for me is like, okay, if you're not copying some of the things Macdonald's doing, you're falling behind.
Yes.
Steve?
Can you I need you to give us the definitive beginning and the end of the decapitation era. I need to know exactly what years.
Well, I think the decapitation era were like when they started football and they're wearing like, leather hats.
Okay, I kind of disagree, Seth. I don't think those guys had the velocity for an on-the-fly decapitation. I don't want to say any real buzzwords here, but I think you need like to have the question of steroids to be in decapitation mode. I need NFL Blitz, NFL Street 2. Go ahead and check out the bingo card. Like I need that level decapitation.
Yes, Lord.
So you're basically talking
like Sean Taylor still in the decapitation era. Okay,
Brian Cushing was in the decapitation era. Vontez Burfict is on the Mount Rushmore, but it started before that.
And hey, you know what? Anytime I mention Vontez Burfict, I got to shout out Juju Smith-Schuster for just destroying that man for permanently giving Antonio Brown brain damage, which I think we can all acknowledge happened. Like
probably,
I hope Antonio Brown doesn't see me say this because he's
allegedly, yeah.
But I don't think he could be in the country right now. I don't think.
Oh, right, that's a solid point. Forgot about that.
He might be okay,
anyway,
or maybe you're really not okay. I don't know.
Here's the thing, starting that late, like into the 90s and early 2000s, then you have to like, how long does it go? Because you can't have the decapitation era without having some of those Steelers defenses and Ronnie Lott in the 80s. And like, those guys were insane. And like some of the hits I've watched on highlight reels, Joe Montana take, I gasped. Which is how I know that
I've got a good 30 plus years of decapitation era. I mean, we're covering a lot of ground, rightfully so.
Steve Outwater, he wasn't worried about covering guys. He was worried about killing people.
Yeah, and it's just like that's like John Lynch. John Lynch would have a role in today's NFL. But I don't know. Though. Well, you know what? He was a great player. He was a very good player. Spags would have given that man 120% of the snaps. He would have loved John Lynch. Been like, wait.
John Lynch and Jason
This
Seymour.
Is tough.
Bring him home.
Maybe we have to call it earlier. I have a line of demarcation that I think is a pretty good one. But I think if we do this, like Vontez Burfict and Brian Cushing become guys playing out of their era, not in the decapitation era. Because what I have here from a quick Google is that ESPN's Jacked Up segment aired from 2003 to 2006. And then it was replaced in 2008 by Come On Man as the league trying to clean up all the concussion stuff. So I think 2006 might be the end of the road there.
I think 2006 is a great call because that's when we started viewing it differently when Vontez Burfict played the way that he did. Yes. He's probably like sitting like, I grew up playing this way. Now everyone's upset about it. Well, I don't know if he put that much thought into it. But like, I think you're talking mid 70s is when guys started getting much more athletic.
Yeah, much bigger. Yeah.
And then you go till now because you can't. You can't disinclude guys like someone mentioned in the comments like Jack Tatum. Like you can't those guys were just trying to harm you, which is it is part of what made us love football. Now we love it for the intricacy. Before we were just like, let's watch some grown men bleed. Like that's pretty awesome too.
And I think that's part. Jack Tatum's nickname on Pro Football Reference is the Assassin. He's ahead of his time. He ushered in the era. That's just
exactly.
because I really do think that you have to have eras plural here. So I think there are plenty of guys who, kind of to the Vontaze Burfict point, you grew up watching these guys decapitate these players. Well, the decapitators grew up watching Jack Tatum. There's all these influences.
That's a great point because NFL Films, again, I wish we could be in those meetings where NFL Films was like, but what if we put a collection of decapitations on a VHS for an hour?
I started by Googling the VHS to try to figure out when those all came out. That's where I started.
Nice. And so it's so interesting to see. I feel like the eras of the NFL are shorter now. I think the advent of they've always had film and they've always watched it, but analytics has become a buzzword over the last 10 years, right?
Right.
For about 10 years prior to that, you saw more and more teams getting smarter and smarter about being a copycat league, faster and faster. It used to be that it took years for trends to really spread out. Now, I mean, with the way the league is so much more interconnected and all this stuff, and the way that we're able to, it's just a lot easier to create a cut up of every single, cover 6 snap of the Chiefs defense. That used to be one dude had to spend 2 weeks cutting up VHS stuff. Now you can do that in make a request, and whatever program they're using does it in 2 minutes. So you're seeing the cycles of the league get faster and faster.
Yes.
I think, Nate, you made a great point. The offensive explosion era, people point to the Mahomes versus Goff 2018 in Mexico, unbelievable. That was a game where everyone's like, defenses can't do anything about this anymore. Because Chris Jones and Aaron Donald were both alive in that game.
And both played well.
They both played well. And they're both just 54? What? And just couldn't do anything about it. But I do think you're right. 2017 is the era Alex Smith suddenly led the league in deep ball passing. And and I do think, for as much as there's a lot of other stuff going on there, Tyreek Hill shares some credit for that era because the league hadn't quite. It was like Deshaun Jackson on steroids, not literal steroids. I think Hill is just one of the most genetically gifted humans to ever walk the earth, physically. I don't think he takes steroids. That dude's always looked like that. But I mean, so I think 2017 you have that start, and I think we didn't realize it, but I think there's an argument that 2024 or 2023-ish is when you started to see that come to an end. I feel like McDaniels started to maybe keep it going a bit, but you're seeing defenses catch up. So I would say 2024 and now 2025, we're like, oh yeah, the defenses have won. So now what? Are we going to go through a couple of years of that?
Right.
It's so interesting to me to see those things cycle and see how offenses are going to find answers. I have no idea what some of those answers are. It's in the intermediate zone. Andy. It's in the...
No, Seth, this is bad content. No, you don't say the answer yet. You say, I'm going to tell you the answer after the break.
Absolutely.
I had a loose broker owner, Casey Local Homes, and Emprise Bank has been a great partner for us. They're our partner in Possible. Debbie and I hit it off immediately. And she was one of the first bankers that I would say sat down with me and actually genuinely cared about my story and where I was coming from and what I was trying to do, not just what kind of loan do you need, how much equity do you have, and she really kind of laid out my options for me and just made the process make sense. And I felt comfortable with it. Start to talk about it and think about it. A building popped up that I wanted, that I could afford, and it was in a great area. And so they really guided me through the SBA. I used the SBA loan to acquire it and really guided me through that process and made it happen. I think that we talk about that a lot, where we wouldn't have a business. We wouldn't have what we have here if we didn't have the clientele that we do. I've always functioned out of a people over profits mentality. The houses sell themselves, right? I'm here to help people and facilitate the transaction for them.
All right, I want to talk about a couple Chiefs specifics with you guys here from what we've been chatting about in terms of the ebbs and flows of the league. And Nate ended up walking right up to a topic I wanted to get to, and I like your guys' conversation about, the impact of having the players to pull these things off by and large. And I'm sticking with the defensive side. I always kind of just pointed back to how does the offense recalibrate to that. But you've written about this some already in the Chief of the North newsletter, Seth, and obviously we've been talking about the defensive line for years now. I mean, that has been an ongoing thing where I am in no way am I concerned that we are overreacting to a good Seahawks pass rush winning the Super Bowl, because we've been talking about the Chiefs pass rush for literally ever. I mean, like, drafting George Karlaftis was an investment into that. Drafting FAU was an investment into that. Heck, you go back to what they did to go get Frank Clark. Like, there's always the evolution of your front four, and I think we've seen pretty clearly these last couple of years the Chiefs have not gotten enough out of that. We talked about Ruben Bain a bunch about a week ago. So that's part of it, and I want you guys to dig into that if you want, but I think that is something we've covered so much. We all can agree, like, this is another exercise in remembering how important it is to be able to not just live with your front four and to be able to kind of scheme around them, but to really be able to set them loose like the Seahawks were able to do. Nate, you mentioned the moment, them over on the sidelines, everyone's just locked in. It was evident watching the game that the Seahawks pass rush was having the most fun of any unit in that game, probably by a mile.
Yep.
The other thing, though, and this is a little bit reactionary, this is a little bit of a one-game sample size, just kind of kicking a cycle back around in my head again of something we've talked about quite a bit that we're going to talk about more in this next month in particular, probably. One of the guys who had the best game didn't win it. Christian Gonzalez was excellent for New England. And the Seahawks secondary was also tremendous. Now, look, the secondary and the pass rush, they go hand in hand. The better one is, the easier life is for the other. But the one thing that I took that I really wasn't expecting from that game was it made me reconsider that I have pretty easily talked myself into, well, maybe if you can get the Rams' original first-round pick for Trent McDuffie, you probably take that. You've got Noah Williams and Christian Fulton. Jalen Watson's hitting the market. It's tough to pay him. And Brian Cook has been getting a ton of praise from the team. And Nate, you've talked about him a lot in these recent weeks. Or in the weeks, ending out the season. And I feel like we got ourselves there pretty quickly while football was still being played by other teams. And I wonder if we did that too fast, or if I did that too fast, because I do think there is still a multiplicative kind of value to having a blue chip player, which we all still agree Trent McDuffie is. Now, he had some moments where he lost this year, and he spent weirdly little time in the slot, which is frustrating because that's where he's at his most elite. But for a long time, and up through last year's extensions, I would say, hey, I'd prioritize Trent McDuffie over Nick Bolton, over George Karlaftis, over Trey Smith. And maybe the Chiefs tried, and maybe they didn't, and they still have him under control in the fifth-year option this year. They could tag him next year and get a good number, considering what he's going to be asking for in terms of probably needing to be at least the third highest-paid corner in football, behind Sauce and Stingley. So all of that has just been swirling around for me a little bit these last couple of days, thinking, man, we've talked so much about how the Chiefs need to add another blue chip player to that defense to ease the burden on Chris Jones, to make George Karlaftis go down a peg in terms of what's asked of him. Are we not hustling backwards a little bit by shipping Trent McDuffie off to hope that the 28th pick, if that's even available, turns into a player half as good as Trent McDuffie? This is the contract math. This is why we spend so much time in the salary cap and having these conversations every offseason. But I don't know, it just felt like the wind has been blowing towards, like, yeah, Brian Cook on a reasonable size deal, and you figure out corner because they always do. And I'm not sure I'm so eager to get to the end of Trent McDuffie's time in Kansas City. So I'm curious how that hits you. I haven't talked to you guys about that since the Super Bowl. That wasn't one of the things you wrote about, Seth. I'm just kind of waiting to spring it on you guys to see where your head's at in terms of what's going to be a massive offseason for the Chiefs secondary.
It's hard for people, I think, to understand that you cannot be a prisoner of the moment or what you just watched, but also be mindful of the fact that your general manager has never had a top 10 pick. Ever.
Right.
Guys, he's never had a top 20 pick. The highest pick, and I think this is where the how difficult it's going to be for the front office is Trent McDuffie is their highest draft pick. He is a 2-time All-Pro player. He plays a premium position. And I know some people will say, well, Nate, is he more of a slot nickel corner than a traditional boundary corner? I think we all three would agree he is probably in that category based on his skill set, his size, and his coverage ability with the included proficiency at blitzing. Well, interestingly enough, another trend that we're seeing in the league is, well, Nate, who was the best slot defender in the NFL in, I don't know, 2023? That, ladies and gentlemen, was Trent McDuffie. Okay. All right, I get it, but like, hey, you had L'Jarius Sneed. Well, Nate, who was the best slot defender in 2024? Well, guys, I told you his name before they ever picked him in the draft. It was going to be Cooper DeJean. It was Cooper DeJean, who had a pick 6 in the Super Bowl. Well, now, all of a sudden, and this is a different type of player, but what Mike Macdonald figured out was, guys, what if we put an absolute alien 6'3" safety, Nick? Now I'm always getting this name wrong. How do you say it? Emanwari? Emanwari. Thank you. God, I'm so bad. Sorry. But we put Nick.
Chanel.
Thank you. We put him in the slot or in the box more than we put him at safety. You know what he did? Terrified people, right? And so he terrified quarterbacks. You could not run the ball well. We already talked about that before, even though they were mostly in nickel, maybe sometimes in dime sub packages. So you're seeing that be a trend where, hey, if you got someone who's above average to like elite at that position, man, you could do some things with coverage. You could do some things with the pass rush plan. And I think the struggle for the Chiefs is you already have Chris Jones, still elite at his age, despite him entering year 32, right? Well, you have Trent McDuffie, like you said, on a 5th-year option possibility, the chance to franchise tag him to prevent him from free agency or to put him basically at ransom in a trade, which you just demonstrated you could do for L'Jarius Sneed. And guess what? We think Trent McDuffie has 2 good knees. So it leads me to think, and I just wrote this, it'll be, I think, on ESPN.com tomorrow. Hey, bro, if you don't get this pass rush right, nothing matters. Not a soul matters. I personally would not trade Trent McDuffie because I don't think you're going to get the Sauce Gardner deal, which we all say, and I said at the time, was a terrible trade for the Colts. I don't think anybody's going to just replicate that, even though Trent McDuffie is, in my opinion, a more valuable player than Sauce Gardner because he adds more versatility and he's already proven to be a player that can definitely make a difference towards winning a championship or 2. Which leads me to say, and I know they already talked about this on the lab, if you just put Trent McDuffie in the slot and you got another good to very good season out of Chris Jones, and you hope George Karlaftis is better than he was last year, you just need one dude. You just need one guy, whether it's free agency, the draft, to bring the pass rush back to a adequate level, which means we don't know who's going to be there at 9, but you have to improve the pass rush. And actually, you might need to do it in the draft and in free agency, kind of like you did last year with the left tackle situation in general. I know that's a lot to say, but I personally wouldn't trade Trent McDuffie, but I love the fact that this is a noble and noteworthy conversation to have, Josh, because of what we just saw in the Super Bowl and because of the idea that, like, wait, maybe we shouldn't give up a good player who's really good. Maybe we should just try to find a way to maximize him. But at the same time, everybody does love draft picks this time of year more than the actual people playing the positions at a premium, at a premium rate. So it's tough, but history suggests you need good cornerbacks and you need good pass rush. But the fastest way to the quarterback is through the pass rush.
Seth, how's that hit you?
McDuffie is a good enough player that he can be a foundational player on a defense. So I don't think he is after seeing how it looks on the boundary and how it looks shadowing, he can do it, but it's not the same as like a Surtain doing it. That matters.
Correct.
So he's a foundational player, but he's not the same kind of foundational player as, peak Chris Jones. Okay. You still don't give that up unless you get something really good in return. A first-round pick is tempting because they've got financial needs elsewhere.
Yes.
It just depends on what they think of. If you think that you can get 85% of what he provides in the slot, okay, because you get the money savings and you get a really good draft pick. That might make sense given everything else they have going on. The danger in that, though, is that you are now leaving yourself where, once again, the only foundational player on that defense
is 32 years old.
Right. And that's something that's not really that's not a place you want to be, and only having one kind of foundational guy. So like the thing with McDuffie is getting a draft pick back is great, but I think you'd want to find a way to have another foundational player. That's why I sent in the group text with the fellas. And I was like, Trent McDuffie and a draft pick for Max Crosby. Who says no? Now I said
a draft pick.
I said the number 9. I was gonna say. I said the 9th pick. I actually, if I'm the Chiefs, I say no there. I'm just like, you wouldn't or would?
I don't. I think both teams say no.
Yeah, and I don't think the Raiders would trade Max Crosby to the Chiefs. That would just be really funny. But you need.
Can we highlight Jake's comment here? That's incredible.
Oh, Nick Bolton is 32 years old.
Moving the tag. That's very. Jake says Nick Bolton is 32 years old. That's very funny.
Yeah, and to John, the Commodore, Chris Jones is making $1 billion a year. They paid him to be a foundational player, even at 32. Yes, and he still is.
He's the best player still.
And it's not even close. And so this is one of those things where they paid him to be a foundational player. He overall is who he is. They had multiple guys take a step backwards around him, and the situation was no longer tenable. I think Nate's right. Unless you fix the pass rush, I don't think it's going to matter that much what happens with the secondary. So that's where, if the argument is like, man, we need a receiver and we need a running back and we need another pass rusher, that matters if you think that you can get solid production out of corners. But to me, because McDuffie's so good and so unique, I think you need to you would need a really good return for him. I think even that one late first rounder, I would really struggle with that. Now, if you had someone offering like a top 20 pick, you grab a guy that drops. So that's where I land, because I think you should learn something from Seattle's defense. The ability to execute that stuff on the back end matters, and we got to remember we're not that many years removed from the Chiefs getting through an unbelievable postseason run on the back of Patrick Mahomes being awesome and a secondary that was just doing unbelievable things. Go back and watch.
That was better than the pass rush.
Yep.
Correct.
Go watch the Chiefs Niners Super Bowl again. That game hinged in large part on Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed eating those receivers alive.
Yeah. And I want to make this clear too, right? This is a sport that still requires a ton of not only accountability, I know people were looking for that word, but like cohesiveness and interpersonal skills and actual chemistry, right? So this question really is pointed to Trent McDuffie more than anyone else in this discussion. Because Chris Jones, if people remember, had a time where he said, look, I want to be like Reggie White. I want to be able to rush from the inside, from the outside. I want to be an edge player. I see how that could add more value to me from a, maximizing, my profitability within the league. Like, hey, if I could demonstrate that I can be great on the outside just as much as I am on the inside, then hey, I have leverage in contract negotiations. He's not Reggie White, okay? And so Trent McDuffie understandably says, hey, I see what the cornerback rate is getting. I saw that Derek Stingley contract. I saw what Sauce Gardner did. They primarily play on the outside. Do you want to be the highest paid, or do you want to go and be about winning? And that question's never really been pointed at, Trent McDuffie, because he's always been such a very good player. We understand that he is a team first player, but this is a pivotal question in his career as to who are you? Where can you be most effective? Where can you maximize your longevity in your career? And are you most concerned about, staying on a winning team, being part of the foundation of that winning team, like Seth is saying, or hey, if you want to cash out, if you want to maximize your viability, then you might have to play elsewhere, right? Those are the things that is going to be asked upon him for the first time in his career this offseason. I think Trent McDuffie's probably in that 28, 29, $30 million player, but your play and how you're used is a big part of that. And whether or not you can structure the contract that fits within the Chiefs' plans, similar to George Karlaftis or even, Trey Smith, like those are questions that you're going to have to get through. The second thing I would say, fellas, is on my own computer, and this tells you how wild things are, I have the ability to look up every third down snap for the Chiefs defense, all of them, and just click and just play through them. Now, because of that, you have to sort out things. I know there's third downs we all remember. Third down, in large part, is a reflection of your defensive line. Guys, they were 29th getting off the field. 29th. Man. They were so bad. Here are the only defenses who got off the field at a worse rate on third down. Your Las Vegas Raiders, the Carolina Panthers, and the Dallas Cowboys. Not a group you want to be with. So I clicked through it, Seth. I clicked through all them third downs. I say, you know what? Let me pare this down even more. Let me click through all the ones where the opponent converted. Oh! Now, a lot of times, the Chiefs did not use stunts, did not use twists, did not use games. Seth has already told us that in previous moments during the season. So I'll say, okay, well, what was their pitching style? We know they like to blitz. We know they like to mug it up with, either, Nick Bolton, a little bit of, Leo Chanel based on, hey, are there spy principles? Is the quarterback mobile? Hey, it does give the offensive line something to consider and worry about, whether they are actually going to attack or they're going to pull out into more zones. Okay, that was kind of their flavor this year. We're going to double up. We're going to mug it up, but we're not going to twist the stunt. And you know what every offense realized about, I don't know, from the Jags game on? It don't matter how they line up. Where's 95? If we just double 95, none of this matters. And so even though the scheme was okay, I wouldn't say it was great like Mike Macdonald, but it was fine because I would just stop the button and I go, well, if he won there, they've actually schemed it up. Okay, hey, you know what? They schemed it up. And even though it looks, traditional, Chris Jones has a one-on-one. So guess what? The quarterback got pressured, But other times it would be like, wow, Dak really did have all day. And kids, he had all day. Josh Allen had all day. And sometimes you want to be like, hey, give me a good offensive line and a good quarterback. And that obviously pares it down a little bit. And you just notice that, like, wow, this was worse than even when I was watching it in real time. How much lack of answers they had outside of blitzing and outside of that double mug bring the linebackers up so that maybe the center has to account for a few things. And no, all we have to do is block Chris Jones. That's all we have to do. And even on George Karlaftis' sacks, none of them are that dissimilar, kids. And I know he was playing hurt through much of the season. So
I was go. So other than that,
so while we were all watching the Super Bowl, little birdie tweeted out. It was Charles Omenihu, kids. And I quote,
we got a new vlog series.
And I quote, at 6:07 Sunday, Charles Omenihu tweeted, and I quote, both defensive fronts doing a lot of twists and stunts and getting the job done.
Oh, I mean, look, Charles Omenihu and Seth Keysor, stride for stride yet again.
I mean, I wrote about it. It's true. And
apparently Chuck read about it.
Yeah. The long and short of it, the dudes conversation, until they figure out the pass rush, the rest of it isn't going to matter. It'll matter to an extent, but it won't matter on 3rd and long, and you can only do so much. The secondary played a lot better this year than it did last year, and there were just too many situations. Again, there are so many self-inflicted things there, but the reality is they counted on George taking another step forward, and it looked like maybe he was at the beginning of the season, but then he got hurt and then took a step back. Mike Macdonald took a step back. Charles Omenihu took a step back in terms of winning one-on-ones. You can't have a defensive line where no one wins one-on-ones except one guy. That's never, ever, 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 ever going to work to get consistent pressure. So it'll shock me if they don't go defensive line at 9. Like, my understanding is you've got like 3 different edges that could go around there. And although I do fear that one of them, I don't remember the guy's name, because you've got Bain, you've got Bailey, and then you got Falk.
Mm-hmm. I will double check, but it sounds right.
Yeah.
Yes.
The thing that scares me about Falk is every time I see him, it's like, prototypical build. And I'm like, I don't like it when the first thing you say about a dude is how he looks. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like,
how's the tape?
Well, and that's just like, I don't know. But I'm excited to watch
also Peter
him.
Woods, the interior D lineman, just like to add a 4th name into that kind of top 10 D lineman conversation.
Yeah.
Probably
and he looks like he could throw on 50 pounds and play nose tackle. So I do think Nate is correct, and that's where really learning from Seattle's defense. We do live in a time where you can reasonably say that defense wins championships again, and you can't convince me for all his certain things that drive some of us crazy. Spags is one of the best to ever do it.
Yes.
He's adapted his defense many times over the years. We'll see what happens. They need more dudes, and they need to be a little less married to some of the things they've stayed married to for a while, and I worry about that. But you throw, we talked about Bain a lot last week.
Yeah.
Let's say you throw Bain onto that same defense, and let's say he's in year 1, he's Melvin Ingram light. It makes everything look much easier,
different.
Much different. So that is something, seriously, defenses can win championships again, and it'll be interesting to see. The Chiefs roster has some stuff. They're losing a lot of snaps to free agency, but honestly, some of it's, there's some dead weight being lost there. They can just gotta move on, and they've got a chance to hit a hard reset. And it's just, I hope Spags was watching, because, things have changed. Things are changing.
Well, on that terrifying note.
Yeah. Also fascinating that neither team really played a ton of press man. Think about it. Just think about it. Think about it, fellas. Now, hey, that doesn't mean you can't play man, obviously, but if we're not pressing you, do you know if it's man? Do you know if it's zone? Hey, actually, I'll go. One of the best plays, obviously, is, hey, I'll go across from you. I'll go right. Yeah. Oh, Stephon Diggs is in motion. Okay. I'll give a man indicator. I'll go with you. It's zone. No, just dropping into a zone. Oh, Drake May, he needs to get the ball out, right? Because his left tackle's getting absolutely overwhelmed.
Shout out to Josh Simmons for being the best tackle in the draft.
Clearly. hey, what if we just put, I don't know, 5 guys in the shallow zones and just see if your quarterback can figure it out while he's getting absolutely pressured? I mean, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to watch. The difference for the Chiefs, though, is, hey, our quarterback, although we know he's overqualified to manage the game, can clearly do that and more. Whereas, like, hey, all they told Drake May is don't turn the ball over. And they won a game in a snow globe. And for Sam Darnold, the reason why the Seahawks have won the championship is because Sam Darnold didn't turn the ball over in any of the postseason games. Just manage the game, baby. Manage the game. And, hey, throw it to Jackson Smith-Njigba. I don't know, 40 times. I don't care, dog. Him and the tight ends. That's it. I mean, I guess Cooper Kupp was very good as well for his role as like that veteran Juju Smith-Schuster kind of guy. But, you know, Bo Nix, hey, baby, if you don't turn the ball over, we got the defense. Don't turn the ball over. What you do? Jared on a screen? Jared on a screen. Jared should have lost them the game on a screen, y'all. You know how hard that is to do? Ooh, so bad. So bad.
This has to be tied for our lowest score of rundown topics checked off in one episode, but I think we've had a nice podcast together. We hit the welcome, and we hit learning from Seattle's defense, and now the show's over. I considered about 15 minutes ago being like, all right, well, if we really get on our horse here, we can talk about running back and wide receiver, and then I realized it's Tuesday, November 10th. November, holy smokes,
November,
what year am I living in? February 10th, I'm just trying to get back to football. That's how built for it I am. I don't need any of this spring and summer. Put me back in football weather. Close to Thanksgiving, that means real football is about to start. We're here on February 10th, and I feel like we could go ahead and make Thursday's show a closer look at kind of the dichotomy of where you want to invest to rejuvenate this offense. So we'll talk about that more on Thursday. If you want to get ahead on that conversation, Seth has written about what his takeaways were from the Chiefs' behalf from Super Bowl 60, and it sounds like Nate's got something popping on ESPN tomorrow, so we'll keep our eyes peeled for that as well. But that's all I have. I'm going to say that's all that Seth has, which means that all we have left is for Nate to get us out of here. And if he could do it in less than 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I'd really appreciate it. But he wasn't here for the episode right after the Australian Open. And
No.
Okay,
I'm
good.
No,
Okay.
look, we're fine. You know, we're moving on. It was fun. Come on, I'm not even going to talk about it, Sam.
No, go ahead, Nate. You just keep going. You just let Seth sit here.
It was fun. Okay, a few things, all right? There's really nothing better, and I thought about this. There's nothing better than sitting on your couch with your friends and your family on another National Day holiday. Oh, wait, the Super Bowl's not a National Day holiday. Why isn't it a national holiday the next day? We should all not be working on Monday. Anyway.
We got other stuff going on right now.
We can all enjoy that. And then it's not an NBA take, Nate Dogg, although I'll clearly have those, post All-Star weekend. With that said, there's very few things better than like, man, okay. All right, let's see what, this is his time. This is his stage. Let's see it, Bad Bunny. Let's go. He puts it out there. You got the dancers. They're dancing great. I know a lot of us, are either hearing these songs for the first time or, don't speak Spanish fluently. Totally fine. It's okay, guys. It's 13 minutes. It's okay.
Ruined my life. My family won't speak to me anymore because of those 13 minutes.
One of the best parts is when I told Hayden, I said, hey, man, I got experience. I've been here. I done seen these things. One of the coolest parts is you don't know who the special guest is. Guys, they gave us Lady Gaga and Ricky Martin, and I jumped out of my seat both times. I said, look.
If Hayden knows who Ricky Martin is, I'll end stream
he doesn't.
now.
He doesn't. But
if Hayden knows who Lady Gaga is, I'll end stream right now. All right!
Lady Gaga was incredible. And I said, look, I don't even need the outfits if you're singing like this. She was singing. And I said, Ricky